Entrepreneurs who want to open a franchise. That's what you're thinking about? Right on, you come to the right place. Got a lot of experience with that. As entrepreneurs and business owners, we know that if we have a clear plan, anything becomes possible. And if you can have a clear plan, a clear process to create that plan, and a way to create clarity with your partner or spouse, you can drive to amazing heights. All right, so if you're an entrepreneur or looking to become an entrepreneur, and you're exploring the idea of possibly buying a franchise, congratulations. So the primary reason why people buy franchises versus doing a startup is traditionally, but not always, traditionally, a franchise is going to minimize the likelihood of failure. You're technically buying a lot of processes, systems, maybe great relationships, maybe wholesale relationships, marketing, data, a whole bunch of other tools that are going to empower you to be better, or empower your likelihood of success. But the first thing you need to start with is you need to be crystal clear on what is your motivation. Why are you doing this? So if you happen to be, say, a corporate exec that just bailed, got a nice little golden parachute, and you're thinking, yeah, I'd like to go own my own business. Okay, if you're looking at an ice cream shop or whatever it may be, fair enough, think about that. But make sure, are you buying a job or are you buying an investment? I consulted with somebody today on this exact topic. In many cases, when you're looking at franchises, you may have to buy 3 or 4 or 5 before you have enough momentum, enough revenue in there to afford not just managers for your locations, but an overall manager that can see, a general that oversees the locations. At that point, then it becomes more of an investment. I'm not saying it's a bad way to go, but it can be expensive. You know, the average McDonald's, last time I looked, was somewhere around $4 million, and that excludes real estate in certain places. You know, and McDonald's itself is a real estate play. So making sure you're clear on what that is, and then also what your capacity is going to be important. Now, the second thing is, let's make sure that you really vet the franchise. Everybody thinks, oh, well, franchises are great. Well, you wouldn't believe the high volume of franchises out there that may have less than 30 or 40 locations. This isn't necessarily bad, but it isn't nearly as time-tested and true. You go buy a McDonald's, it's set. You go buy a Taco Bell or KFC, or you do a Paul Davis or whatever those places are that there's lots of people. Their likelihood of you making sure that you're successful is higher because they've got a lot of experience, they're going to do a lot of demographics, and they're going to vet you very hard. But you have to remember to vet them just as hard. And some of the basic ways that you can vet your franchise is say, hey, I'd like to talk to the last 3 people you sold franchises to. Not who they're willing to give you, but the last 3. Because then you can tell people where they are at different times in their startup, and what are the things that surprise them? What are the things that work? What are the things that don't? The other thing is you're gonna have to see the location you're working at. I have a friend who bought it was a sandwich shop, did really well in one part of the country, where he ended up didn't do very well. And they only gave him very, very restricted area where he could sell, which really tied his hands. And in that particular case, he got clobbered. He lost a lot of money by going into that because he thought he was going to be able to just plug and play. Now, the other thing is a lot of franchises often use labor that is entry-level labor. And right now in the era in 2023, it is a pain in the ass to find quality people. So that usually is one of the biggest challenges. One of the other things is make sure that you understand what are the parameters of the agreement of where you can buy your product, where you can buy your resources. I knew somebody that had an ice cream group, and they had to buy their ice cream from the franchisor. They were the franchisee, and the franchisor charged almost twice as much as they could get it if they bought it from Cisco. So by that, their margins were really tight. It was pretty ugly. So I'm not trying to talk you out of this, but I am saying that it's really, really important that you talk with some of those other franchises. Now, if it looks good on those first 3, great. Say, hey, tell me 2 or 3 in my region, and let me know what sort of help is available and what do they think. Because usually quality franchises are going to get together and they're going to help each other, which is fantastic. I love that. How can everybody, when everybody works and collaborates together, that tide rises all ships. So the last thing is making sure that as you talk with these people, find out, hey, what do I need to know? And remember, good Lord gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. If you can listen twice as much as you talk, it's going to help. So, hey, what other questions should I be asking? Read their body language. How did it work for you? You may find out, wow, it took a lot more money than I thought. Or you may find out that, yeah, boy, they'll help me get the real estate place, but they're the ones who own the real estate, and they're actually making more money because they own the real estate. Or again, and it's not always a negative, please don't think it is. There's some, I know at one point, Cost Cutters, the haircutting company, was owned by more accountants than anybody else, because for that particular case, they were able to plug and play quality people who could manage it, and then they oversaw the numbers. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But there are great franchise trade shows. You can go and I would go to a big one, find the biggest one you can, fly there, invest that money, and then go around and talk and see what's out there. If you find somebody who's really small, maybe they're starting up, but they've got a great idea, sometimes that's not a bad idea, but you're gonna have to be more entrepreneurial than you would if it's a tried and true system. They're gonna be growing and evolving as you grow and evolve, but it doesn't mean you can't do it. So with that in mind, if those things help, you're also always welcome to check out the book, or you can go take our course online at aspiringsolopreneur.com. And we go through and help people build an entire business plan, figure out how to look at these things, vet them, and the same tools almost always apply to a franchise. It really helps you figure out what's gonna motivate you, so you can figure out, hey, what fits for your ideal scenario? You're looking to buy a job, looking to make an investment. What's the investment gonna look like? How are others being successful? And then make sure you have a clear plan on where you go. Now, the last thing I wanna talk about is one of the things you need to ask people is, how is it you're gonna get out of it? Whenever you buy a business, my opinion, and I bought a bunch of them, always making sure, how are you gonna exit out of this business? Doesn't mean you're gonna go tomorrow, but you never know what's gonna happen. And most people sell businesses, not because it's a great financial opportunity, because they're either bored, burned out, or there's another financial opportunity that they can go do. So it's an opportunity cost. So keep that in mind, make sure you're asking those questions. But with it, it's the easiest it's ever been to start a business, and it is so rewarding when you do that with the right intention. You may work a little harder, you may not make as much, sometimes you make a lot more. But the reality is when you're your own boss, you're the one who gets to make those decisions. If you have any questions, please let us know below. If you like this, subscribe, and we'd love to hear from you. Keep smiling.